I once stood in a shoe shop and argued with a woman for 25 minutes over a pair of shoes I had never even worn. 25 minutes. Over shoes. In public. With a queue forming behind me. Hello and welcome back to English with Ella. Today's story is called It Was the Wrong Size, I Promise. And it is the story of the most unexpectedly dramatic shopping trip of my entire life. If you are new here, welcome! My name is Ella, and every episode I tell you a true story from my life in slow, clear, natural English. Perfect for A2, B1, and B2 learners who want to improve their listening naturally. No textbooks, no grammar tables, just stories. Now, before we get into it, our first word, because it is the word that started the whole thing. To return. To return something. To return something means to take it back to the shop where you bought it. Maybe it doesn't fit. Maybe it's broken. Maybe you simply changed your mind. You go back to the shop, you explain the situation, and you give the item back. Usually in exchange for a refund or a different size. Here are your examples. She returned the dress because it was the wrong color. That means she took it back to the shop. She gave it back. Can I return this if it doesn't fit? That means if the size is wrong, can I bring it back? I tried to return the shoes. It did not go smoothly. That means I went back to the shop. And then things got complicated. To return. Such a simple word. Such a simple thing. You would think. Okay, let's go back to that Saturday afternoon. So, 2 weeks before this story begins, I bought a pair of shoes. Beautiful shoes. Dark brown, slightly heeled, exactly what I had been looking for. I bought them quickly. I was in a hurry. I grabbed my size, or what I thought was my size, paid and left. I got home. I tried them on properly, and they were just slightly too small. Not dramatically, not unwearably, just enough that after 10 minutes, my feet were not happy. So, I put them back in the box. I kept the receipt. Very important, we will come back to the receipt. And 2 Saturdays later, I went back to the shop to exchange them for the size up. Simple. Easy. 5 minutes maximum. Or so I thought. I walked into the shop. I found the customer service desk. There was one person working there, a woman, perhaps my age, with the expression of someone who had been dealing with difficult customers all morning and was not in the mood for any more. I smiled. I put the box on the counter. I said, "Hi, I'd like to return these, please. They're just slightly too small." She looked at the box. She looked at me. She said, "Do you have the receipt?" And I said, "Yes." And I produced the receipt, perfectly intact. Date, price, item number, all there. She looked at the receipt. She looked at the shoes. She looked at the receipt again. And then she said, very slowly, very deliberately, "These shoes have been worn." I stopped. I said, "Sorry?" She said, "These shoes have been worn. We can't accept a return on worn shoes." And I said, very calmly, very reasonably, "I tried them on at home, on carpet, for about 10 minutes, to check the size. That is not wearing them." She said, "Our policy is that shoes must be unworn for a return." And I said, "I tried them on carpet, in my living room, to check if they fit. That is what everyone does when they buy shoes." She said, "I'm sorry, our policy..." And that brings us to word 2. Receipt. Receipt. A receipt is the piece of paper or digital record that proves you bought something from a specific shop at a specific time for a specific price. When you return something, a receipt is your proof, your evidence, your best friend in a situation exactly like this one. Your examples. Always keep your receipt. You might need it if something goes wrong. That means hold on to that piece of paper. It protects you. She couldn't return the item because she had lost the receipt. That means, without proof of purchase, the shop would not accept the return. I had the receipt. I had the box. I had everything, and it still wasn't enough. That means I had done everything right, and somehow it was still a problem. Receipt. I had mine, perfectly, and it still led to a 25-minute argument. So, there we were. Me on one side of the counter, the woman, whose name badge said Sandra, on the other. The box of shoes between us like a very small, very awkward battlefield. And now word 3 becomes very relevant. To insist. To insist. To insist means to say something very firmly and refuse to change your position. When you insist, you are not asking, you are stating. You are holding your ground. You believe you are right, and you are not moving. Your examples. She insisted that she had paid, and she had the bank statement to prove it. That means she said it firmly and would not back down. She knew she was right. He insisted on speaking to the manager. That means he demanded it. He would not accept anything less. I insisted that the shoes had not been worn. Sandra insisted that they had. We were at an impasse. That means we both held our positions completely. Neither of us moved. It was a stalemate. To insist. Sandra insisted. I insisted. And so the situation did what situations do when two people both insist at the same time. It escalated. Word 4. Awkward. Awkward. Awkward means uncomfortable and embarrassing for everyone involved. When a situation is awkward, there is tension. Nobody quite knows what to do. The air feels thick. People look away. It is not quite an argument, but it is not comfortable either. It is awkward. Your examples. There was an awkward silence after she said the wrong thing. That means nobody knew what to say. The silence was heavy and uncomfortable. It was awkward meeting my ex at a mutual friend's party. That means the situation was uncomfortable for everyone. There was no easy way through it. The whole conversation at the returns desk was deeply, horribly awkward. That means I could feel the people behind me in the queue. I could feel Sandra's irritation. I could feel my own rising frustration. And none of us could find a comfortable way out. Awkward. And it was about to get more so. Because at this point, word 5, the situation began to escalate. To escalate. To escalate. To escalate means for a situation to get bigger or more serious than it was before. What starts small, a simple disagreement, a minor misunderstanding, grows, gets louder, gets more people involved, gets more complicated than anyone intended. Your examples. What started as a small argument escalated into a full disagreement. That means it grew, it got bigger, more serious, more people involved. The situation escalated quickly. Within minutes, the whole team was arguing. That means it spread and intensified faster than anyone expected. A simple shoe return escalated into a 25-minute standoff with a queue of 8 people watching. That means what should have been a 2-minute transaction became a significant public event. Yes, a queue had formed. 8 people, watching me and Sandra, silently, holding their own returns and their own receipts, wondering how long this was going to take. Sandra called a supervisor. The supervisor, a young man who looked like he absolutely did not want to be involved, came over, looked at the shoes, looked at me, looked at Sandra, and said, very quietly, "What seems to be the problem?" Okay, 2 more words. And these 2 describe exactly what happened in the final act of the shoe saga. Word 6. To back down. To back down. To back down means to stop arguing and accept the other person's position. To give in. To decide, whether because you have run out of arguments, or because you are tired, or because you realize you might actually be slightly wrong, that this is not worth continuing. Backing down is not always weakness. Sometimes it is simply the wisest thing to do. Sometimes the energy required to keep going is just not worth it. Your examples. She backed down when she realized she had misread the policy. That means, once she understood she was wrong, she stopped arguing. She accepted it. He refused to back down. He was absolutely certain he was right. That means he held his position completely. He would not give in. In the end, after 25 minutes, someone backed down. I will leave you to guess who. That means the standoff ended. One of us stopped insisting. The other got what they wanted. To back down. I will tell you what happened in the outro, but first, our final word. Word 7. To see the funny side. To see the funny side. To see the funny side means to find something amusing even when it was stressful, embarrassing, or frustrating at the time. When enough time has passed, when the heat of the moment has cooled, you can look back and think, actually, that was quite funny. Not everything has a funny side immediately. Sometimes you need a few hours, sometimes a few days. But often, given enough distance, even the most mortifying moments become stories you love to tell. Your examples. At the time she was furious, but later she could see the funny side. That means, in the moment it felt terrible. Later it was amusing. Time changed her perspective. He couldn't see the funny side until a week later, then he laughed for about 10 minutes. That means the humor wasn't immediate. It arrived later, when the frustration had gone. Standing in that shoe shop, arguing with Sandra while 8 strangers watched, I could not see the funny side. Now, telling you this story, I really can. That means, in that moment it was genuinely stressful. Now it is one of my favorite stories. To see the funny side. It is a skill, one that gets easier with practice. And the answer to what happened, who backed down, is this. The supervisor looked at the shoes. He looked very carefully at the soles. He turned to Sandra and said, very quietly, "I think these are fine." Sandra said nothing for a moment. Then she processed the refund, without another word, without looking at me. I said thank you, very politely. I took my refund, I walked to the door, and I did not look back. Okay, 7 words, one final time. Word 1. To return. To take something back to the shop where you bought it. She returned the dress because it was the wrong color. Can I return this if it doesn't fit? I tried to return the shoes. It did not go smoothly. Word 2. Receipt. The piece of paper that proves you bought something. always keep your receipt. She couldn't return the item. She'd lost the receipt. I had the receipt, the box, everything, and it still wasn't enough. Word 3. To insist. To say something very firmly and refuse to change your position. She insisted she had paid. He insisted on speaking to the manager. I insisted the shoes hadn't been worn. Sandra insisted they had. We were at an impasse. Word 4. Awkward. Uncomfortable and embarrassing for everyone involved. There was an awkward silence. It was awkward meeting my ex at the party. The whole conversation at the returns desk was deeply, horribly awkward. Word 5. To escalate. When a situation gets bigger or more serious than expected. What started small escalated into a full disagreement. The situation escalated quickly. A simple shoe return escalated into a 25-minute standoff with 8 people watching. Word 6. To back down. To stop arguing and accept the other person's position. She backed down when she realized she was wrong. He refused to back down. In the end, after 25 minutes, someone backed down. Word 7. To see the funny side. To find something amusing even when it was stressful at the time. At the time she was furious. Later she saw the funny side. He couldn't see the funny side until a week later. Standing in that shoe shop arguing with Sandra, I couldn't see it then. Now I really can. 7 words. All real, all natural, all useful in everyday English life. And now, my question for you. Have you ever had a simple errand go completely wrong? A return, a complaint, a misunderstanding? Something that should have taken 5 minutes and somehow took much, much longer? Tell me in the comments. I love these stories. I think we all have one. And if you are enjoying English with Ella, please subscribe. New episodes, new stories, new vocabulary every few days. Coming up next, something a little different. I want to tell you about a day when I did something I had never done before. Something that scared me. Something I almost talked myself out of 3 times before finally doing it. It involved a swimming pool, a diving board, and approximately 30 seconds of pure terror. That episode is called Just Jump, Ella. Until then, keep listening, keep learning, and always, always keep your receipt. See you in the next one. Bye for now.